This is why that company can't be trusted.
Oh my gosh.
They can't manage a heat wave to save their lives. Like,
shout out to the YouTubers that will clip this just to talk bad about our podcast.
God, you're so cute.
I don't feel like I was treating you poorly.
Not at all. But you have adorable eyes.
All right, let's get going.
I really like that sweatshirt you're wearing.
It's 19 trees.
Well, it's really cute blue you picked for your background.
Oh, you're just making fun of me. All right. Well, whoa. Welcome to Josh's channel, everyone. No, you start.
That is not the intro. Oh, I didn't do the Hawaiian shirt again this week.
Gosh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the reaction phase. You guys know me. My name is Josh, and I am here with the co-hostess with the mostess.
Wait, I'm against being co-hostess. I would like to be co-host.
That wasn't meant to be a gender comment. It was just supposed to be like with the mostest. I was trying to get, and then that doesn't work.
You could have just said the co-host with the most, for the record.
But I wanted to add a little flair to it. I wanted to add some extra. All right, man, you do it then. You do it.
No, we're in it, baby. Welcome back to the podcast reaction phase. Super stoked. We had a big weekend this weekend. We saw Uprising. I keep calling it Everfest.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. We saw Uprising for the first time. We're gonna be talking a lot about that. We hope everyone had a fantastic pre-release weekend. Leave us a comment right now. What was the highlight of your weekend while you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel? So want to give them the rundown?
Absolutely. I think I can give them the rundown. I think we're going to start by talking about the pre-release. Then we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit. Normally we save market and sale discussion for the end. I think we're going to jump into a little bit of market sale discussion. We do want to talk about the fact that Worlds was given a tentative date, a time frame, so we kind of know when that's going to be. And then there's going to be a general debauchery at the end of this podcast, I'm sure.
I'm sure it'll take us 15 minutes to end it.
What?
I'm sure it will take us 15 minutes to end the podcast.
No, I'm just gonna click stop record out of nowhere. Just out of nowhere.
I'm pretty sure I hit the record button. I'm pretty sure.
Dang.
I'm pretty sure I'm the person who does that. So,
but let's start in. You do this to me when it's on your channel, so I'm gonna do it to you when it's on my channel. Dude, how was your week? You had a pre-release this weekend yourself. How was it?
My week was crazy. It was busy. Just in general, or are we hopping in? It was a crazy week, and it was Father's Day today. I guess
Happy Father's Day, dude.
Thank you. My wife worked 12 hours, so I was really a father today. I got to. She came home. She's like, I mean, it fit, right? And I was like, it was perfect. It was everything I would ever want out of a day named after. Father's Day is weird. I think Mother's Day is weird, but you can't say that. But like, you don't
attack mothers when it's on my channel. Like, this is not the platform.
Like, you don't choose. Like, mothers should be celebrated every day, and fathers should be celebrated every day. That's just like, why do we need a special day for it? Like, let's just treat each other well all the time. That's my thing. So, anyway.
You know what? I think before we get into this, I think we should be kind to the people around us.
I think we should. I do.
But you did have a pre-release outside of all of the regular life stuff. You had a pre-release. How did your pre-release go?
It was good. We had 12 people, which was good for my shop. It was probably, we had like 28 at our Pro Quest last couple months ago, like a year ago, whenever that was. But that was more of a regional thing. This was like 12 local people, and it was right. It was cool to hang out and to meet some new people who had been in the greater area. But yeah, it was good. It was
way
fun.
Better than the lesser area, for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
for sure. No, but it was fun. It was a good time, and we we did 4 rounds and did the whole thing. I have a lot to talk about. Are we moving to talk about pre-release? I feel
I'm giving you the floor, man.
All right, we're just starting the pre-release conversation with that. It was good.
You don't like my transition, so I wasn't going to do a transition because I don't get roasted for my transitions again.
How many thousands of pre-releases did you attend this weekend?
Why you do this to me, man? Why you do this to me?
What?
I wasn't able to attend a single pre-release.
You didn't go to any?
Yeah, I had to sit there, watch my social media feeds, and cry. Oh. I had a 2-year-old, my nephew. My nephew that lives in my neighborhood. He turned 2, And then we had Father's Day barbecue. And then shout out Mo Bogsley is moving to Colorado. So we had to have a going away lunch for him as well.
Oh man.
Yeah, I bought him the best going away present ever. I bought a $3,000 Magic collection off of him.
Oh baby, let's talk about that.
He's like, I don't want to take this with me. Here, buy this. And I
Anything
was
good?
driving and I tried to get details from him. And he's like, I can't talk. It's before noon and I don't wake up then. So I just said, sure. And I don't know if that's a good idea or not. So
You should have made content out of it. A blind buy $3,000 Magic collection.
it's not blind. He sent me the list. I just didn't read it.
Well, then it's still blind. That's perfect. That's cool.
It makes him
Yeah,
sound
I get
bad
it.
though.
It
Yeah,
was a
so
busy. It was a busy weekend for a lot of people, man. I
dude,
don't
it was
think.
crazy this weekend. But there was in our area, I don't know if in your area it's the same. We had tons of pre-releases going off. And it was cool to see LGSs try to coordinate like times. They work together in our area. They're pretty awesome about that.
Yeah.
To be like, we're gonna start now so you can end this one. And if you want to go to the next one, like get over there.
Well, shout out to Alan Hale. They do that. The like LSS does that. They
Oh,
give
did they?
yeah, like mine had to be on Saturday, and there's one other LGS within, I don't know, 45 minutes of us that does Flesh and Blood,
So they
and
do that, but these
they
guys
got
coordinate
assigned for
times.
Sunday.
These guys coordinate time slots.
Oh, that's cool.
Like one starts in the morning and one intentionally starts in the afternoon if they're on
Gotcha.
the same day. But yeah, I know
Gotcha.
LSS does dictate the time slots.
Yeah,
But it's cool. MinMax games sold out instantly. That's
of
crazy.
course.
They're selling out things. The 128 person road to nationals is going to be crazy.
That's
That
awesome.
might sell out. Are you going to come out for that?
Shout out to our sponsor, or Josh's sponsor on this channel, MinMax Games.
Are you going to come out for that?
Well, no, probably not. No,
You should.
I have 2 kids.
Bring the kids.
No,
Peter's got
absolutely not.
kids. I'm going to have kids.
I
My
try
house
to
is
travel
super
as
kid
little as
friendly. There's
possible.
like stairs, limited railings. It'll be awesome.
I try to travel as little as possible with my kids. They're too young. 3 and 8 months are not great travel ages.
Doesn't sound like a problem for me at all.
No. All right, let's talk about pre-release. Ours was great. It was a lot of fun. So that's cool. The poll rates don't seem that difficult. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
They seem pretty spicy.
Well, this is one of those things where you just will never know. Is this the fallacy of like people only share the goods? You know what I mean? Like they only share the good
Oh,
stuff.
yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But like everyone seems to, like, almost every pre-release seems to have pulled a cold foil legendary.
It sure seems that way.
Yeah, like, and I know multiple, and like my thing is I know multiple pre-releases who opened one case, or like maybe it was they had like a 16 person, so like a 12 person pre-release is one case basically.
Right.
A
Sure.
16 person pre-release is like you're opening like less than 2 cases, and
Yep.
one was a 16 person pre-release. They pulled 2 cold foil legendaries, 2 rainbow foil legendaries, and get this, 6 marvels in their 2 cases.
Wait, 6?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
So yeah, that's sweet. It was really cool but it's the question everyone always has on these things is like, is this the fallacy of people only sharing the good stuff, right? Like,
Right. The 3 other pre-releases that then pulled nothing, just
yeah,
posted no photos. So,
right.
okay, I'm stopping you because this excites me more than anything. Does this just like tickle your little Louis fancy? Because if pull rates are up, dude, if pull rates are up and things are being more affordable and you get rainbow foils, there's lots of options, and they're just pulling a ton of these cards, you personally have to be stoked.
I'm all for that. It's not what they said that was going to happen with the pull rates though.
No, but
I'm all for it.
But if it shakes out this way,
I'm all for it,
big
baby.
Louis smile.
Yeah, all for it. I am all for increased pull rates of legendaries.
It
But it
feels
seems
like
cool.
we're trending towards a more accessible legendary system.
Yeah, we'll get to the prices when we get there. But yeah, it does.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. They're going down. Yeah, no, it's fun. So I played Islander because what did I pull? I pulled some Majestic that wasn't really even that good and sealed. But I was like, hey, I pulled the Ice Majestic. I might as well give it a shot. And I had like some equipment. If you want to see my whole sealed pull, I did a video on it. But like I played Islander also because I knew that FaB is supposedly like the boogeyman in the format. And I was like, well, Islander is probably the better matchup against FI, and so I
That
wanted to
I
go
think that's
for it.
fair.
But the problem was that my pre-release of 12 people, there were 4 islands, at least 4 islanders. So like a lot of people went that route.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people had the exact same thought you did.
And Dramai apparently just destroys Islander. There
Ah,
the guy
yeah,
who won,
yes.
shout out to Ethan. The guy who won, he played 4 Islanders, Icelanders. I don't
Icelanders.
know. I'm sure they gave us a little
I think it's
database.
Icelander, like
I'm sure that was
Icelander.
on their how to pronounce our cards, but
You and I
um,
will definitely read that document, guaranteed,
I looked
100%.
at the document. Then I
Oh,
was like,
you opened it?
I opened it. I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna actually remember how to pronounce this. And when you pronounce things wrong, everyone leaves a comment on how to pronounce it, which works out better for me for the algorithm. So it's just like, YOLO. Um,
Oh my god, you're intentionally pronouncing things
oh yeah,
wrong
baby.
to boost your algorithm.
Heck yeah. YouTube, baby. Bring
I'm
that
learning
in.
all this thing, but no,
Yeah,
Dramai
dude.
destroys
Yeah,
Icelander. It
Dramini is really, really good.
Yeah, you can't deal with the dragons and the creation of all the AB, like, the offensive and the dual offensive and defensive threat that gets generated there, you're like, "Oh, I guess."
So Ethan, when I played him, he had 6 Aether Ashwings out, and 2 of the ones that if it hits, you draw a card, or you get something, but if you don't have that, then you draw a card. Starts with a K, Kyloria maybe. Uh, so
You're
I was like,
done, son.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and it was like turn 2, he had 3 Aether Ashwings out, I think, and I
Mhm.
was like, all right, I'm like, I just couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, so you have 3 AB right now, like,
Yeah,
this
yeah, it
sucks.
was silly. And it wasn't the AB that was the problem. It was like, what was I supposed to do? Like, what? Anyway,
Get good, scrub. Like, what do you mean? Get good.
yeah, I
No,
guess so. Get good.
that does seem like the balance. And the first weekend when FI was running over everything, right? Icelander being the natural counter there was, I think, on everyone's mind. But everyone that first weekend, world premiere weekend in Vegas, was like, oh, FI's running all over everyone. If you get a good Icelander pool, you can combat FI and you can get there. And Dromai is terrible, is
Yeah,
whatever. That was like the consensus. However, Dromai is so good into Icelander, and it in certain circumstances it's very difficult. It's not favored, but it can get there against FI. Dromai definitely a dark horse, but that matchup is so overwhelming. It's nuts. I walked through it again. Shout out Dennis. He played Dromai, and he's like, "Yeah, I played 2 Icelanders. Those were free wins."
yeah.
He's
Well,
like, "I didn't
so
even have to think."
let me ask you this: as somebody who plays more competitively than me, right?
Yeah.
Are you a fan of the rock paper scissors bit?
I it's better than
Briar wins. Like that's
yeah.
what we're comparing. Yeah, I'm sick
It
of like that's the freaking crap we compare it to is Briar
That's not
wins.
no, that's not what I was saying, but you just jumped on. I was trying to say it's better than like A and B are both viable, right? If you have A and B and those are viable and you have C that's just not, I'd
Yeah,
rather have rock, paper, scissors than A, B viable, C pointless, right? I really would. I 100% would. Because I think you can now start playing and planning against that. Like when you play against Briar in Tales of Aria Sealed, you would draft certain cards knowing that you're just gonna try to run through like 4 Briars today. It's just gonna happen, right? So
right.
certain cards got to a higher priority. I I don't know. I think this one's okay. I haven't got my hands on it a ton yet, but I'm on board with this being slightly better than Tales of Aria.
Do you think there's I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
if I
you're
buy
using your
that.
soft high voice. You don't like what I said.
You think that this is going to be a better sealed environment? Well, I mean it's hard. Like Tales of Aria let's talk about intentions. Cuz
Sure.
they said that Tales of Aria was the best sealed and draft experience that they have ever created.
And then they just said this. James White said he thinks this one is better.
Okay.
So did they just say that with every release from here on out? Is that just like this is
Everfest
the best
was the best sealed environment ever. Can't
Well,
even be played
I mean,
sealed.
hey, that's a good sign, right? Everything's constantly improving.
So with Tails, what I really really liked about their intention with
Sure.
Tails was it wasn't a 1, 2, or 3. It wasn't rock paper scissors. it was like Briar had, you could build Briar in 5 ways. You could
Oh,
build
don't
y
you dare.
what?
I've made this take on this podcast. You're just repurposing my take. No, go ahead. It's fine.
You could build Ice Briar, or sorry, you could build Lightning Briar, you could build
Yeah,
Stompy Earth Briar, you could build a mixture, you could build a splash, you could do
right.
all that for all 3 heroes. So it was, you could create with the commons, the, it didn't have to be your, your big pulls. With your commons and rares, you could create a mixture.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's the case here. I feel like
It,
pretty much you like, I opened my cards and I was like, well, there's my Islander deck. Like
you're an
there it
island boy,
is.
dude.
I'm an island boy. No, like there it is. Like that's it. Like there was no.
I don't want to let you get too far down this rabbit hole because I want to react. First and foremost, when we talked about this, it was in the vein of CC, right? And we talked about how when you're constructing these heroes, the set Tales of Aria out of the box aesthetically, just like when I looked over the set list, it felt better because I said, okay, here's 3 heroes that in my mind each can be built 2 different ways, right? So already, like you mentioned, Earthbriar, Lightning Briar, you got Lightning Lexi, Ice Lexi, and then Oldhim, there's definitely like a hybrid there. But just at first look, you're like 6 build paths right away. This set, from a constructed standpoint, doesn't necessarily have 6 clear build paths. It reminds me more of something like an Arcane Rising or a Welcome to Wraith, almost like a talentless set. I know it's not a talentless set, but it reminds me of that because like your hero, your Katsu, wants to do one thing, but you will have creative players that come up with the fatigue Katsu strategy, right? The cycle Katsu. Your Dorinthia wants to do one thing, but then there's alterations on that Dorinthia where it's Dawnblade with go again, full block into attack action or something like that. So that's kind of what this feels like from a constructed standpoint. Now, what that means is from a sealed standpoint or limited, all these decks feel like they're going to play the same way. So balance is really important. If I can't change how I build FaB from a limited standpoint, like I could Briar or Lexi or Oldhim, the balance becomes more important, right? Because I need to feel like the gameplay matters more than the hero selection.
But is that less fun? That's my question. Like I
It's I
loved I when I went to Vegas,
sure.
I think I spent like $230 to play in this, like I bought tickets so that I could play in another sealed Tales of Aria game.
Yeah.
Which then, shout out to Channel Fireball for taking like 35 minutes to pair the round, and like then everybody went to dinner. We played. I think we all played 2 rounds. Like that was it because there was no judge around, and like they didn't pair it. Like typical. Anyway, uh,
Womp womp.
still salty about that.
So
But like I loved it so much. I loved the. It's not that I loved the, like obviously whatever. I loved the idea that you could do these different things.
yeah. So from a
You
deck
have that.
building perspective, no. It's
You
just
have
not, right?
you have that in Magic too, where like you play the new set and you play either sealed or draft, and you're like, I'm gonna go, in New Capenna, it was like the houses. You had the 3 color houses, right?
Yep.
But in like regular kind of Magic sets, you're like, oh, I'm gonna play 2 color and splash a third because I
Yeah.
got this, this bomb that I want to be able to play, or this
Yes.
thing, and you're excited because you can really adapt your gameplay. You can really try something new. And like in this, it's kind of it, I'm not poo-pooing it, but what I'm saying is it does feel like, hey, pick your hero and play your cards.
So there's a different way to say that, and that's what I was talking about just a second ago. I don't think I expressed it correctly. It's less fun from a deck building and actually drafting your card standpoint. Like because there's not as many decision points. And
Yeah.
I think you can directly associate the amount of fun you're able to have with the number of important decision points you get to make.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't feel like a machine then. But it is different if the balance is great, you make up for those lack of decision points during the draft process during gameplay. Because now think of Monarch when Prism first dropped and nobody was prioritizing generic 6s as like pack 1 pick ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were just like, "Oh, gigantic heralds, GG." right? So
Right.
there wasn't a ton of decision points there. And then with Monarch Draft, there wasn't a ton of decision points because you couldn't really pivot. So if we can have an awesome gameplay experience, which again I can't speak to as much, I've played very limited of Uprising so far right now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank
That
you.
was good.
But
That was
if
good.
you can make
Everyone
up
hit the
for it
like button
there,
for that comment.
and you can still have the decision points, I think this has an opportunity to be better than Tales of Aria. I do
Mhm.
because you don't. Maybe there isn't that, and maybe it's just not yet. I don't have that disheartening feeling. Even when I sit down across from a FaB, it doesn't feel like sitting down across from a Briar in Toa. Like that sinking feeling that just hit right away. It was like, oh, great. And maybe it'll get there, but I don't know. I think it's got an opportunity to be more fun. And if it is, I mean, that's good game design, right? If the
Yeah.
interaction's better.
Yeah. I think it is cool. I think we're still figuring it out. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. I had no clue what to do against Jermai. I was just like, yeah, no,
I
like
don't think you're the only one in that boat, dude.
I was like, yeah, you're swinging at me. It's basically like you have 6 Kadachis. That that's what it that's what's happening right now. You have 6, so I guess I'll block 2 of them and take 2 and then have 2 cards in hand to do something, or take 4 and have 2 cards in hand to do um
So we
like
pivoted, right? And this is my
no,
theory on
wait,
this
let
whole
me
set.
finish. Sorry, I
Okay.
was in the
Yeah, yeah.
middle of a point. I got a little distracted by my joke and I lost it. But my point was that it's cool now to see in Flesh and Blood a difference that we have a board state. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. It's kind of unique. It is special and fun and different to have a board state. I think that's cool.
No, I think you're spot on, and that's actually what I was leaning into because I thought you dropped it, so I was trying to be like a good teammate
Yeah.
and just be like, let me pick it up. Let me pick it up for you, my guy. It's I think we've entered an era of interaction right now, especially in limited. You have more ability to interact with your opponent at given moments than you have in the past.
Oh yeah,
These
like
sets
they added the helm that you can pay to block like null rune basically.
Yeah, yeah, it's just across the board throughout the entire set. Dromai playing, multiple things and the instant way Icelander plays and everything like that. You have more interactivity in this set than you have had in the past. And because of that, you have an opportunity for this like intricate, really involved gameplay. Now, there's a detriment to that. That's going to lead to more blowouts, right? Because if you can't adapt to that and you don't draft accordingly or you don't build your deck or think accordingly. You
Or your
think
pulls and seal just aren't.
yeah, or your pulls and seal just
Mhm.
aren't there and you can't interact while your opponent can. It can put you at a disadvantage. Hey, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose, but that the upside is also this we're back to this welcome to Wraith it back and forth gameplay where it's back and forth, but it's not back and forth at the same speed as welcome to Wraith. It's not as static like my turn, your turn, my turn. There's more interactivity, but it feels like that classic back and forth battle.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
All
think
right.
it's sweet. My final take on it is I'm really excited for this set. I'm worried, like you are, that if the community doesn't start to realize that there's consistent ways to beat FaB, right? And that never comes to fruition, we could be in trouble. We could be in for
Uh,
another Tales of Aria situation.
I had 2 wins on FaB and 2 losses to Dramai with Islander.
Right. So it seems like if this rock, paper, scissors design was the intent, it's working.
Yeah, 100%. The question I have with the rock paper is it fun? Is
And
it,
like I said, depends
and
on game.
hopefully we as a community just need to figure out ways for Islander to beat Dramai and Dramai to beat FaB.
I need to feel like when I'm
Yeah.
when I'm rock against paper, I need to feel like that there's some points in the game that I can look back and I can either get it closer or like decisions that I could have made to make it a win, even if it's
Yeah.
less likely or harder.
Yeah. Last point, and I don't want to be negative again. I want to restate, had a ton of fun. It was really cool to see people come out. Pre-releases are amazing. I wish we got a pre-release way more often than the one time a year we're going to get it. Like the pre-release thing is really cool. A lot of fun to see the community come together. Last thing, because you compared it to WTR, there were 3 brand new players in my pre-release that are part of my
Mm.
community, and I was like, hey, you should come play. Blah blah blah. They came, and the whole time, the only thing I could think of was, dang it, I wish they were playing WTR because it's so much easier to learn. And even like me, who has been doing keeping up with spoiler season, having conversations, watching content, in 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 this world, uh I was confused most of the time. Like, I didn't know what Dramai was doing. Like,
Right.
I was lost. Islander, there's just, I know reading the card helps the card. I get it. But like, there were times when I was like, oh my gosh, dang it. I forgot that had to be my arsenal to play it on my opponent's turn. And
Yep.
there's a lot of homework in this required to play.
But
And I think that, I'm not saying we're there. I'm thinking that one of the fears I have for Flesh and Blood is the game so dang good that it's too difficult sometimes. Is the game so nuanced and so, there was a time I tried to play a card and it was an instant. And the table next to me was like, you can't, it was an instant that basically, I don't remember the card was, but it allowed me to take a card out of my opponent's hand and put it on top of the deck. I can't remember what it was.
sure.
And I went to play it at the start of their turn, and I was told that I couldn't do that because there was no window for me to play the card, and that changed the whole game. Like, I kept that card in my
Right.
hand in order to do that.
So
Um,
I this is a couple things here before you get too much farther.
let's do it.
The way I think the better way to state what you just stated at the start of this, where you said, "I wish there were in WTR." There's a lot of homework was your phrase. There's a lot of homework for this set. To me, that means there's a lot of replayability,
Yeah,
right?
that's fair.
Because there's a lot of homework, you can go back to this well, and those three new players, right, can go back to this well and back to this well and back to this well and keep playing this limited format and keep getting more out of it, being able to play more Flesh and Blood, learning more about the game, about the windows they can interact. Because right now, when you first sit down and you make that mistake, that lesson to that new player, not super important that you can't
Right.
interact right at the start of turn. There are other lessons like, oh, I should remember to put a card in my arsenal. Oh, I shouldn't have put that blue card in my arsenal because I should have pitched it or something. Like that stuff is important. So you can keep coming back to this well. And as far as the game difficulty, I this has been always been my problem with, again, we talk about with Magic the Gathering. I hate, and I don't even like to use the word hate, but I hate teaching people how to play Magic
Yeah.
because it's so hard to teach.
Yeah.
Why can you do things when? Why can't you react to mana abilities, but you can react to other abilities? When do you have windows? And Magic's slightly easier because almost everything that happens in the game gives you a window.
Yeah.
Almost everything that happens. Oh, the start of your turn when your land's on tap, you have a window.
Priority
Upkeep,
window, right?
this weird phase that still exists for some reason, you have a win. Like in Flesh and Blood, the one concern I have is it's harder to learn when those windows are. Like explaining to somebody who wants to interact that you can't interact with Starvo's trigger going on the stack, and you're like, or on the combat chain, like that's an uninteractable moment. They get to do this and put their cards back in their hand, and you can do nothing about it. That's difficult.
Yeah.
So while I think it is there, I don't think it's too difficult or Flesh and Blood is anywhere near the point we're going to start icing up players because you have new players in all these card games all the time. It's just going to be instead of picking up WTR and then being a Flesh and Blood player, you're going to pick it up and it's going to be like a journey through something like Magic. We're going to keep coming back to this well and getting better and better and better and better in smaller increments.
Yeah. I mean, one of the guys who played, he came in. He was just like, hey, I'm looking to learn how to play TCGs. And he came in a couple weeks ago and we played Commander, which is like probably the worst play to teach somebody how to play Magic, but that's what we were playing that night.
I
And
just like Commander.
I know.
I just
Well,
like
like the
Commander.
problem with Commander is there's a billion mechanics, right? Like a billion things. Like,
Yeah.
and you have no control over what those things are. And I
Right.
asked him, hey, what were your thoughts? He was like, well, it was way easier than Magic. And I was like, oh, that's great. You know what I mean? Because like, for him it was like, so there is a balance there.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah, Flesh and Blood is easier to pick up than Magic the Gathering, but
well,
the
so
mm,
it's
mm,
easier than the Commander. I think WTR.
mm,
I just feel like something
mm.
we've had a massive shift. I think it's the talent system. I
It's
think the
not, I don't think
com-
it's a shift. I think it's a trend. It's not this massive, like when you say massive shift, I think right turn. I think we're drifting. I think we're
okay.
drifting. The amount of interactivity in Flesh and Blood that you have to like keep track of is nowhere near the amount of interactivity and possibility that you have to keep track of in a game of Magic the Gathering.
That's fair.
It's There's so much more interaction. So you're right. I'm on board with you. I just don't want you to use words like massive shift. I don't
I
think
mean,
that's
there's a massive shift since WTR in the way that the game plays. Like,
yes, it has shifted. I agree.
and that's there has to be a stopper to that.
Mm,
If the game gets more complex every set, it becomes more difficult for a new player to get in as these old sets fade out.
there won't be. I
Okay.
mean, TCG history shows us that design will experiment with more and more mechanics, and the more design you experiment with, naturally the more interaction you're going to find. The more interaction you are going to find, the more you're responsible for tracking, and it's going to get harder.
Listen, I feel like there's more interaction in WTR with, defense reactions, and you had Dory that was attack reactions, and you were doing things back and forth. It was, boom, boom, boom. Then there is with like a bunch of dragons attacking you, and you can't figure out how you're supposed to stop them with your cards that don't attack dragons. You don't attack, like, what I mean? Like, it's just
I think
different.
it sounds like you're just scarred from your experience, and maybe we should sit down and talk about it.
I need a therapist. All right, let's
Yeah.
just move on.
I used the podcast for my therapy session last week. Do you need to get in on this? Let me
No.
know. So we agree that things are changing. We disagree on the magnitude, and I also disagree. I think you are looking back at WTR with graduation goggles the same way I do. I I think there's more interaction right now. I think that's just a fact that there's more
Interesting.
interaction in Flesh and Blood right now than there was in WTR. I would rather play WTR, especially with new players. I'm not saying it's better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think there's more interaction. I what do you think? Okay, let's close with this then. With sealed, kind of we've only had pre-releases, so all of this is pre-release talk, right? None of it's official release. When official release hits, we'll look a month in the future to reaction phase episode. I don't do numbers are a thing. In the future, when we sit down a month from now, are you going to look and be like, I've come around, like I like how the community is receiving this. People have learned it. They're coming back to
Oh,
the well. They're playing it. Or do you think it's going to be it's rock paper scissors, and the community gets sick of rock paper scissors, and they say I don't want to just auto lose and auto win matchups, and they're going to drop it?
so I want to be very clear. First of all, I think this is a fun set. Like, the
Yeah, I
heroes
wasn't
are
trying. Yeah, I don't mean to paint you in that light.
like the heroes are fun to play. I personally don't like it as much as the previous sets, but this is still a fun set, and the flavor is phenomenal. There's
Two
nothing
dragons.
like,
Yeah.
I didn't get to do it. There was nothing cooler than having a dragon attack me. That was freaking cool.
I don't know. You
The
sound a little hurt by it.
I am
A little
hurt
bit.
by it, but it was fun. But I think I think we get into this. I heard this often, and I still hear it today when I send my sealed packs to the patrons, or when I play sealed at the shop. And I send Tales of Aria. Nobody wants to play. Like, nobody wants to play sealed Tales of Aria. No, like, everyone is like, "Hey, I'm sick of that set. Can we do WTR?" Nobody says, "Can we do Arcane Rising?" No,
Arcane Rising's a
nobody
weird one,
says, "Can we
man.
do Monarch?" Everyone says, "Can we do WTR?"
Yeah.
Uh, that says something.
No,
That says something.
it does. It does. It absolutely does. And
So I think my point saying is, like, I think this is great. I think this is I do think we'll be bored of it. Like,
do you know what that says? By the way, that
what?
says Farewell to Wraith came too soon, and maybe that should just be like an annual thing.
Well,
Like once a year,
somebody
they send out
somebody
Welcome to
somebody
Wraith
suggested
Unlimited.
that they'd never go out of print with WTR. I don't
What,
want to say who it was, but
once a year, I don't care who it was. Once a year, they send out kits to all of their stores, and they get to like this month. You're drafting Welcome. That's the Armory this month.
yeah.
It was like July is Welcome to Wraith month, or whatever month that Flesh and Blood released. Just for the rest of time, you just draft WTR Unlimited for
I'm
that
all in,
month. That's
baby.
the LGS game mode.
I'm on. Give us WTR revised and just keep it in
I,
print forever.
you're just on the weird George white border train. I heard he was pumping white borders,
I
and I
don't
think he's
care.
getting in your head.
I don't care about that. I just want to play WTR. Well, granted, you can still get WTR from distribution. So stores, if you want to do that, go do it. All right, we're done. I feel like you made
Yeah,
me come across negative.
I
I
did
had
not
fun.
know.
Everyone who came to my event had fun and had a
I
good
let you
time.
talk about your event and your store so I could stop seeing the Facebook ads for it.
There you go, baby. They're working. They're
I almost went.
working.
I was like, "Wow, this looks like a blast. I think I'm gonna go." But
They're
what
working.
doesn't look like a blast is having bought cards at the world premiere and seeing prices today.
Yeah. What was the Fable sale that our buddy bought?
It was 1,100.
Yeah, so he's out 400 already.
If unless he sold it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we saw a cold foil. What's the card called? I can't even think off the top. The Fable though. From the set. Wow. Everyone in the comment section just roast us. You're gonna do it anyway. Just do it.
I
Like
can't remember the name of the
it,
fable off the top of my head.
for the record, it's almost 1 a.m. where I am. So like, you know, get over yourselves. Anyway,
Why are you berating my comments?
because they're gonna be
Don't
roasting
get
us
over
right now.
yourself.
I'm
You
pulling
get
it up.
under yourselves and you love yourself.
I'm pulling it up so we know. But you know, the fable is called the Blood of Drakai. All
Oh,
right,
it's
so
the Blood of Drakai.
oh yeah, good job.
Thanks.
Rainbow foil on TCG players 350 right now. Cold
Mhm.
foil, the lowest listed is Yeti Gaming. Gosh, those guys open a lot of packs, man.
Those guys do open a lot of packs.
Those guys open a lot of packs at 1500. But we know one sold. It was pulled at Georgia's store at Compete Sport. Yeah, sold for 700.
Okay, so we have a 700 sale already, and I made a mention to you. A lot of the cold foil equipment is coming down to earth. It doesn't look to be, aside from a couple really special cards that the community is really high on. A lot of the stuff, the cold foil and rainbow foil, don't seem too crazy far apart right now. Like they're starting to get closer and closer in price, and this was what we were talking about that Flesh and Blood fans are going to have to get used to. This is going to trend far more like your average TCG release, like your Magic, your Pokemon, your Yu-Gi-Oh, your all that stuff. It's going to trend more like that because pre-release weekend sales are not going to reflect what happens when all the boxes are open. And if the boxes, if sales are doing this on pre-release weekend, what do you
Yeti
think is going to
Gaming,
happen?
Yeti Gaming has 10 rainbow foil ghostly touches on
What do you think
TCG
is going to
players
happen when everyone opens all of their product?
and 4 cold foil. First off, it's very important to note that right now, TCG Player, the only people who can list cards are brick and mortar who have opted into the pre-sale program,
Yes.
which is a very, very limited number of people. So what do I think is going to happen? Yeah, I mean,
No.
you're
I'm
being
saying it's
sarcastic.
important for people to know that if prices have dropped this much already and you're gaming on a budget, don't get the FOMO, don't feel the urge, hold.
Well, especially with the
Hold.
delay. And the question is, what happens with this delay? Are you going to see the boxes just show up? Or are they going to show up in waves and that kind of thing? Will LSS, did LSS have to, we don't know, right? Like, did LSS have to air freight some to get there by the first? Or is it just like that the shipments are coming in a little bit late and that kind of
So
thing?
so I don't want to misquote this, but James White made a comment, I believe it was the Instant Speed podcast, correct? Yes? That's the one
Uh,
he was on. I think he was on the Instant Speed. If I misquote that, I'm so sorry, comment section. But he did make a comment saying the US product that arrives will be the amount of US product that arrives. And I don't know if he used for this wave. I think he used the phrase for this wave,
yeah.
meaning distribution has been instructed to not hold product back. And yes, don't
Listen, no, I'm gonna say it. Like I was told that I couldn't get any more boxes of Everfest, and now Everfest is on clearance sale, and I bought boxes last week, and now they're $12 cheaper this week when on their clearance sale.
I'm not saying it won't happen. That's not my saying. I'm telling you, this is what he's been in. This is what he made a comment out loud on that podcast saying that all the product that hits the US when it does get here is supposed to go out to game stores. So,
Right.
what that means to me, a couple things. That means that if that does happen, they do have a window to supply a second wave or even a third wave.
Oh
That's
yeah.
far more likely in that scenario rather than distribution holding that stuff back.
Yeah. Listen, you've got to wave out this product. I mean,
I
there's
think
no
you do
other
too.
product for if it does sell out, which, if it does sell out from distribution on the first wave and then they say no more, then why take the game as a store?
Then there's a panic.
No, no, it doesn't. I don't care about the market. I'm saying as the stores, why pick
I'm
up a
saying there's a
game like
panic amongst the player base.
yeah, but like even as like again as a store, why pick up a game that you can't get product for?
If you can't have the newest and greatest thing on your shelf, we talked about this. I think my statement was like every set you should for the next like 4 or
Yeah,
5 months should never be a this product is out of like I can't get anymore. The answer I don't have any right now, but I'm picking more up on Tuesday is acceptable. But an unacceptable answer for me is to any one of our players to go to their LGS and the LGS to be like, I can't get more Uprising. I
yeah,
can't do it.
and
That's
and
unacceptable to me.
and it's even more acceptable when you go to your LGS and you say, "Hey, can I get some Everfest?" And the LGS calls distribution and says, "Hey, can I get some more Everfest?" And they say no, and then you say no to your customer, and then 3 weeks later, all of a sudden they have more. Like, it's just like that's frustrating. What needs to
One
happen
hundred
is
percent.
transparency in the waves. Hey, we're gonna have another wave, and they did this. They did this with Crucible. Like it's not like they don't. It's not like they can't handle it. They did
Right.
this with Crucible. They said, "Hey, Wave Two's coming out." I don't remember when it was, but like Wave Two's coming. Just so you know, it's gonna be heavily allocated. It's gonna be allocated two per store.
Right.
Like we knew that was happening. So
Why is that? And let me ask, this is something that I think is actually valuable to our viewers. And if you're watching the podcast right now, this could be the most important information you get from this show
oh
right
gosh,
now.
and
And
you're gonna
and
ask me a question. It's on
yeah, and
me.
it's gonna come right from you, dude. Are you ready? Stretch out, like touch your
Oh,
toes. Get ready. Here we
I
go.
can't. I don't think I can touch my toes.
Why would distribution do that? Distribution doesn't stand to make more money holding the
Yes, they
product and
do.
slowly leaking it out.
Yes, they do.
How?
Slowly leaking it out. They
Yeah.
when they give us a sale for, I don't know, Pokemon evolving or Pokemon. What's that set that everybody wants? Uh, they this week I could get Ultimate Masters from Magic from distribution. And you know what? I wasn't paying what distribution price was 3 years ago. I was paying about $20 less than market price. They hold stuff back so that they can do sales and get you to buy it for more expensive.
That's the sure, that's the 3-year plan. So you're saying the reason that this will be allocated more tightly right now is for that distribution 3-year plan. So distribution
No,
then in 3 years
sorry.
can hike up the price because that doesn't make sense. Because Welcome to Wraith right now, when you can get it from distribution, the price isn't different. It's the same price.
Yeah,
So
well,
that they're not
it's
doing that.
yeah.
And if they're not doing that, what are they doing?
So I think what you're getting at is that the waves that come out allow it to go to all multiple stores. Is that what you're getting at? So
No.
one store doesn't just buy it all up and it goes to a wider array of stores.
No, allocation is fine. But if I have 100 boxes and I have 5 stores and each store doesn't get an average of 20 boxes, if I only move 80 boxes out there and keep 20 on my shelf, why?
I don't know. I
That
guess
that's the
for
part.
maybe for new stores that hop in, that we have boxes to give new stores. Like they did that. They did some of that with Monarch. Like I was a brand new store after Monarch came out. Like
Okay,
my first set as a store was Tales of Aria. So if you're a
sure.
patron and you bought Monarch boxes from me, that's because I went out and bought Monarch boxes at ridiculous prices on the secondary market to sell.
I gotta
Um,
remind me, it's sitting right there over my shoulder just judging me.
but my first box was Tales of Aria, and when I got signed up, they said, "Hey, we have some extra Monarch First Edition if you want to buy it, 2 boxes." We held it back for new stores.
Okay. Okay. So
Now, but
that
like again,
yeah.
they're not calling people and being like, hey, we have some ultimate masters for you, would you like that at $100 a box? I mean, like, they're not.
It seems like the model is broken, and it seems like there's a disconnect on the point of distribution. Like, what is the purpose of distribution? And I believe that LSS, not just this is not like an LSS thing. I believe that the
Oh,
creator of
not
the
at all.
game
Yeah.
has a vision for distribution, and distribution has a different vision for itself, and those two visions do not coexist well.
So, well, I mean, you only have two distributors in the US for Flesh and Blood.
Right.
There's no competition. One distribution gives all their boxes to the stores who spend lots and lots and lots of money. The other distributor charges more money per box and gives them to lots and lots of stores, but also holds boxes back.
Okay. Yeah,
Those are your two options. Neither of
it's
them are
it
great.
it just
Uh,
seems like to me from again, I like to bring the player perspective to thing, the average consumer, again, I don't own a store. I don't have these windows.
yeah.
It seems like we have distribution to distribute the product to people like me, to us, to the community. And there's some disconnect that keeps that from happening. And the more I learn about it, there's a lot of, well, yeah, of course, but there's a lot of rage. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are quick to point the finger in our community and say, well, this is the problem. This is the problem. Or quick to then say, this is not the problem and defend things till they're blue in the face. I think it's valuable for us as a community to understand that process and maybe get a little window into why this is happening. Right. Because right now, there's just no reason. Right now, when my store tells me I can't get boxes, and then in a month, like you said, has Everfest boxes, as a consumer, as a person who loves Flesh and Blood, I turn and I look, I go, this is weird. Why? LSS didn't ship more Everfest to distribution. Like,
Well,
they're
we don't
done
know that.
shipping it.
We don't know that. I mean, to be fair, we don't know that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, I mean, would it be nice if LSS was like, hey guys, we're shipping more Everfest to distribution, so
It would
be on the
definitely, I feel like
lookout.
it would put their feet to the fire because then we're like, hey,
I
where
think
is
that'd
it?
be great. I don't know if that's what happened or if boxes were held back. I don't know if stores, they allocated and then stores didn't take product.
Yeah,
I don't.
there's a
That
there's
happens.
weirdness here.
But my point is that why say that you say you're sold out and then you're not. I think the ideal world for for an LGS and for the consumer and for everything is that the first wave is relatively big,
Yeah,
and as you do pre-orders and then distribution gets their boxes in and they allocate it out based on pre-orders, based on previous spend, based on event running. There's stores on TCG Player that you see that are like it's like pokey you know Poke Center, and it's like Pokemon stores who are they don't they don't care about Flesh and Blood. They're just burning through to increase their
sure.
so
Right.
give your boxes to people who are running events and gem and that kind of thing, and um sell out wave one. I think that's great. I think selling out wave one is fantastic.
I agree.
Have a wave two that comes in and you do another pre-order for. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I,
that's that scenario I
yeah,
talked about where
yeah.
I can't get any right now, but more is on the way,
And
right?
on top of that, this new FaB 2.0 is perfect for that. You don't have
Yes.
to print first edition. You don't have to print unlimited. You don't have
No.
to time any of that crap. All you have to do is take a look at how much is being ordered and say, okay, doesn't look like we need to do another wave. Last call. This is what Magic does. This is what Magic has been doing for we we just got last call on Strixhaven and and
Was it
uh
Kaldheim?
Kaldheim and
AFR.
Zendikar.
Oh, is
Zendikar.
it
Yeah.
Zendikar?
Mhm.
Wow.
We
I
just got
love
last call.
Zendikar. Zendikar underrated set for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah.
100%. I have tons of Zendikar boxes in this room right now. It's crazy.
We just got last call on those sets. So now there's going to be one more wave. If you're a
Yep.
store who likes to keep old packs and in 10 years you want to be able to draft, hey, pre-orders for this and you order 5 or 6 more and then you have them, in your store. If
Right.
if you're a consumer, you can kind of smell it out and know, hey, we're in a 2-year life cycle of the TCG, and if you want to keep sealed boxes, this is the way to do it. So like I don't I mean Magic's much bigger though. Magic has a lot more
That
established. Like it's different. I get it. It's harder for a new card game.
There's something
Um,
else to that too, is there's a lot of mistakes to be made in that model. That statement like,
oh yeah,
"Oh, I'm watching this, print more. I'm watching this, we don't need more. Don't print more." All of a sudden there's a run and it doesn't exist. That doesn't affect Magic,
yeah.
right?
I mean,
Magic loses 100,000 players in its sleep. That would affect FaB, right?
yeah.
That would
Well,
that would be detrimental. So
uh,
it's
not
the
to say
balancing
Magic's
act
got
is
it
much
figured
more
out
interesting.
either. I mean, like Magic. Look at you know, AFR. There's a billion boxes and nobody wants it. Crimson Vow. Nobody wants Crimson. You know, and yeah, I just opened 6
Talking
of
about
those
things that
yesterday.
people don't want
No,
because
everyone's wrong. Everyone's wrong. I opened 6 boxes yesterday. Did fine.
I I opened a collector booster box for MinMax and I got like $400 worth of value.
Yeah,
Like in today's market.
yeah.
It's insane. Go watch that video. I pulled like 6 ancient copper dragons.
That's not average though.
I know
So
I'm aware, but it was crazy.
it's
Actually, I
awesome.
think it was 5. Sorry. It was 5 ancient copper dragons.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was wild. But
You know, I don't know if the system's fixed yet because I don't even have my allocations yet. So and I don't know if that's because of the system or if it's because of the boat that's apparently sunk in some canal. Like I don't know what the issues are.
I don't think
Um,
it's sunk. I think
I
it's
know it was
I
sarcasm.
think it's sitting in the canal. Well,
I-
if it's sunk, you're not getting your allocations. You got them. It's 0. If it's sunk.
if it's sunk, hopefully it's Everfest Unlimited on the box on the thing, not which still has a release date on the website of September. So I don't know. Um,
Whoa.
it
That would
does.
make my daughter a little Everfest.
No Everfest Unlimited.
That's a long name. I'm sticking with Little Uprising. You guys dubbed her Little Uprising. We're sticking with that
Oh
one.
my gosh.
Oh,
Anyway,
dude.
I don't know. It's interesting. I do think these cold foils come down. I think you're gonna
I
see.
think it's cool to see the cycle. I'm seeing the standard TCG cycle in Flesh and Blood, and it makes me smile.
Yeah,
I
that is cool.
I like it.
It is cool to see the hype of that. Like I think. Listen, I think it's hard to tell me that a cold foil is going to be worth that much more than the Grandor of a Hall.
That's a tough sell for me as well. I've always had a theory. I talked about it last week. I struggle to trade the new cold foil or the old cold foil for the new cold foil fable. Like I've
Yeah.
always that's something that has never made sense to me. And there's always posts at pre-release about doing it. And this time the prices are so far apart, no one's even suggesting it. But
Well,
it would be really honestly, it's really difficult for me if I open this cold foil fable to not want to trade it for a grander. Like it's
so
just older.
it it is true for Tales of Aria.
That's what, but yes, but then we talked about this last week. The fact that this is the first changing of that print model, it could change those figures. Yeah, sure.
It's true for Tales of Aria to Everfest. The question is, we don't have Everfest Unlimited. We do have Tales of Aria Unlimited. This is certainly a player's market. Um, so I don't know. I tend to line up a like $300 cold foil for this set.
I
That's
think we landed last week on like $300 to $400.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that makes a lot of sense. Listen, like I don't think there's going to be a shortage of these boxes. To be honest, not if you can. Unless they did a drastic thing. Unless they did a drastic thing. If you can still get Everfest, if Everfest is on clearance from distribution, unless they did a drastic print supply reduction and we're not going to get waves, I think there will be plenty of boxes to be opened to help those prices get down. So if you're a player who needs the cards, don't ape into it.
Yes, exactly. Let things settle. Let things settle. Get your boxes, open some stuff, enjoy the set. Don't rush into the FOMO.
Yeah.
All right. Dude, I think this is fun. This is going to be fun to watch over the next couple weeks. I'm actually really excited to watch this and follow
It'll be
along.
great when we all get together for Worlds in November and talk about how it went.
So I have to redact my statement from last week because Little Uprising will be here in November, so I will not be attending if Worlds is in November. That
Just bring
announcement
your kid with you.
was first of all, I
I'm
would wear the
100.
bejesus out of a baby Bjorn while I kicked your butt up
Yeah,
and down Wraith. Okay, it would
yeah,
be ridiculous.
I
Girl
agree.
dad shirt and all.
Both of us. That's what we should do. We should have a Worlds in Chicago. What if it's in Chicago?
I don't think well, that changes everything. That 100% changes things. And they announced all the events. By the way, they announced all the events and we got nothing in the Midwest near us. Come
Did they?
on, man. How we're filling out 68-person Pro Quest, 128-person Road to Nationals. How do we not get a battle hardened? Hook us up. What are we doing?
Yeah,
What are we
MinMax.
doing here?
They need to give it to MinMax.
My wife today at the party, we were talking about Flesh and Blood, and they talked about, oh, I couldn't go to Vegas, and she was like, yeah, I was bummed, and they were talking about other events, and she goes, they really should have someone in America to like
Oh,
schedule those dates.
yeah.
And I just started laughing. I looked, I was like, this is the greatest statement I've ever heard in my life.
Like a U.S. representative that could like know the landscape and help navigate things. Yeah,
And she cares about this stuff not at all. And she was just like, that seems like it would be really helpful.
somebody should have suggested that. Like I don't know, 2
Oh
years
my-
ago, they've been great.
All right, what's next? I can't. Your
No,
soapbox. is
Worlds.
killing me.
I think I'm going, baby. I think I know you hate the game and you don't want to go, but like I'm going.
What's next? What are we
You
talking
can't-
about?
Anytime George asks me if I'm going somewhere and I say no because of my kids, he's like, "You can't just use your kids as an excuse." I say, "George, you don't have kids, so you don't get to say that."
You can, living, breathing, needing to eat excuses.
Just have your wife watch them. Yeah, well, it doesn't work that way.
That does not work that way. And also, if that was going to be the case, you have far more expertise on this. But George,
He's joking.
buddy,
He's
my
joking.
friend, if you ever see him do that, pull him away and save his life, because that might be the last time you ever see our friend Lewis. That might be it.
Oh man, no, Worlds looks cool. I'm super excited.
The
I'm
world
like
looks
shout
ridiculous.
out to that. Like I hope they make an actual announcement, like instead of like the podcast, like put it out
I
there
think so.
for everyone. But like I think it's great that they are getting out of it a little bit more ahead of time. Now I know not to plan anything in November. I think
Except my
that's great.
birthday, where you're gonna come visit me. Yeah.
Well, if Worlds are in Chicago, then I will be visiting you. But
Or you could make a special trip.
wait, your birthday's in November and your kid's gonna be
Yes.
born in November?
No, October.
Oh,
10-4,
Gotcha.
good buddy.
gotcha. Anyway, so pretty cool. I don't know. I'm excited. I think I'm going. I think we're gonna try to do like a Team Kitchen Fable house, of which I will just try to like annoy everyone
At Worlds, not
Yeah.
like a gamer house permanently.
at Worlds. Yes.
Well,
Like
I'm
a
wondering what you're doing with that second house that you own and your palatial estate.
Oh,
And I'm starting to worry that might be Team Kitchen Fable house. And if
mm,
so, Team Ascent might actually have some competition with those guys eventually. Like if they
Mm.
live there for like a year or two, they might pick up a
and we
game.
never know. You never know what's going on behind Team Kitchen Team or
Okay, we don't
Kitchen
want to
Fable
know.
TCG. You never
Put
know.
the video camera away,
You never
Louis.
know, baby.
Put it away, dude.
You never know. No, there's stuff going on, but we can't talk about it yet. So thanks for spilling the beans.
You don't want to leak it on this podcast?
I mean, it's leaked. Now it's out there. We'll see if anybody's watching this BS an hour and a half or an hour in.
Well, I think that's might be all we had here. Do you want to talk about anything else today?
It's supposed to be 101 degrees this week.
You got me beat. It's only going to be 99 here.
I want to complain about that. I would like to make a formal statement that I'm against that.
I think that LSS has done a really poor job managing this heat wave. And if they could if they had an American representative, they could realize that we don't like this temperature.
Well, yeah,
And
maybe throwing out a set that's focused on fire in the middle of the summer is just ridiculous.
and one ice hero. If we had two ice heroes, maybe cool things down.
Balance
Sure,
it
one
out
ice
a
hero.
little bit. You know what I'm
This is why that company can't be trusted.
Oh my gosh.
they can't manage a heat wave to save their lives. Like,
shout out to the YouTubers that will clip this just to talk bad about our podcast.
oh, can you imagine if somebody clips that and then
100% gonna
somebody
happen.
like puts the full clip next to it and what we actually just talked about? By the way, that's the thumbnail for this podcast right there.
Give it, baby. All right, that's it, everyone. Remember, be kind to the people around you, and may your reactions be in the correct phase.
Unlike yours were during the pre-release. Dude, it's always awesome talking to you. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still here, let us know you're still here in the comments. We will talk positively about you next week if you're still here right now. I will make Louis do it. I will kick him in the shins.
If you leave comments, sometimes I talk about you to my wife, and we read your comments. So if you want that to happen.
But only if you leave really mean ones.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes she says. Sometimes.
Oh, sorry, you were still saying something.
Does your wife ever volunteer to respond to the nasty comments on YouTube?
Yes.
My wife does, and I say, God, no, that's gonna make it worse.
Oh, so the big thing that people do is they call me fat in YouTube videos. Yeah,
they do that to me too.
And I'm not like I've seen fat people. I'm not like a super fat dude.
I think that's a flesh and blood thing.
Is it?
I don't know, man. I get called fat a lot too.
But my wife is.
I'm running tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. because of it. So
I'm not. I said we should do a podcast weight loss challenge until I found out you had gotten into running, and then I was out.
Granted, I had a piece of chocolate cake and a bag of Twizzlers today. So,
they say red wine is good for your health.
And I'm having an IPA. So, I mean, like, there's no amount of running that's going to make up for that. All right. Can we end this podcast? Goodbye, everyone. Be kind to the people around you.
That's got to be your tagline. Because you're running.